So I finally got started on my wallpapering in the bedroom. I've done 2 drops so far, and it is a paper wallpaper as opposed to vinyl backed, which means I couldn't cut it while wet. It just snags and rips, which means I end up needing to pull it back and cut it with the scissors and then put it back. Up here particularly, I had a few pieces that came off, like ripped off in little crescent shapes, and I had to cut them in half and stick them back up with my finger. Oh well, you know, you don't look that closely at it later. And because it's alternating drops, I had this much between. That's 10, that's a whole foot. So I'm thinking off the roll, I should cut like 3 of one drop, 3 of this piece, 3 of this piece, and then alternate so I don't have a whole foot of waste every drop. That's probably a good idea. And there's a gray line there because I did a pencil outline of the first drop, and I don't know if that's going to come off. This being paper wallpaper, I don't want to wipe it a whole bunch with a wet sponge because you know what paper does when it gets wet. Not good things. And it's dark out already, so I'm curious to see how this is going to look in the light, because it's looking quite gray right now. And I was actually disappointed when I first got these in the mail because it was supposed to be robin's egg blue. And you know, yeah, there's some glue on there. It's more on the gray side. So I had to rethink about what paint I'm going to put on the bottom, because it's going to be almost 3 feet at the bottom. It's 5.5-inch drop, and then just under 3 feet of the bottom section. Yeah, it has taken me a long time to get started on this, and I just felt like, just like yesterday when I did the painting, I just felt like I think I could do it now instead of just watching YouTube all day. So I thought, well, just put 1 drop on and then see how you feel. You know, and 1 drop may or may not lead to another, and now I'm interested in what's going on. So yeah, I just wanted to document how it begun, and it's super pretty. And I don't really want to show a whole lot of my bedroom because that's my private space, but just talking about what I'm up to and my boys. I had birds on a blue background in my last bedroom. It was much more blue, sky blue, and the birds were much smaller and they were gold. So now I have multicolored birds. 3rd drop went better. I did not get any gap between this one and the 2nd one. I did that better. I managed to wipe all the glue off the 2nd drop with many trips to the sink to rinse, because you don't get very far with each rinse of the sponge because the water gets soaked up by the paper, but it's not buckling. Yeah, no problems with cutting, or, you know, I've been pulling it back to cut the top with scissors and then pushing it back into place. Although that one I didn't have a line. Well, I thought I was following the line. I followed it badly and I had to cut a little sliver along the top, but you won't see that. It'll be hidden by this stuff. This stuff here. Here's the 4th drop ready for gluing. I'm using paste. So because this isn't a paid video, I'm not doing it for money. This is not a how-to video, sorry. I do have a small tripod, you know, so that I don't have to hold the phone with my arm, but I don't have a 5-foot tall tripod and I can't be bothered, and I don't want to set it up to film everything I do, like actually doing the smoothing and actually doing the pasting. I just want to do it and then post what I've done to show my progress. I'm sure there's other videos that show you how to do wallpapering. I just want to post my progress on my home renovations. Just to share, you know, and I know that the concept that of being paid improves the quality of videos, but I am an old-time YouTuber and I'm not doing it for money. So, you know, it has its pros and cons. I'm just doing this for fun and I'm not investing any money into it, you know, so sorry about that. Their thought is, if I get a cool light bulb, then the blue will look less gray. So perhaps that's what I should do to perk up the color and make it more of a daylight look. Can you see the silver? Aye, there you go. See? There's some. It's very pretty. I had gold before. Now I got silver. It's morning and the daylight is shining in, and I put up 4 swatches of paint colors to choose from. Now this is the one I had decided on. This is the one I figured out matches best, and then I found these other 2, and you'll see right here I had taped my swatches on and it ripped it. I have never had that problem before. Very fragile wallpaper. So I'm going to look it up and make sure I know the types of wallpaper and just be aware in future that this type is fragile. So which swatch do you think looks best? 1, 2, 3, or 4? When I woke up this morning in bed and looked over at them, I liked 2 and 3 best, and I found 4 to be really blah, and 1 looked too dark. And then if I flip the light on, and I did switch the bulb, I now have a cool white 100-watt equivalent bulb in. And standing back, the turquoise does look quite stand out. I think number 1 looks really pretty. Number 2 fits in really well, and I'm going to get rid of number 4. Even though it matches really well, I want it to look bright and cheerful. I also looked at blues to match the plumage on this bird, but that didn't go well. I could, of course, go with something completely different, like yellow or pink or that pretty green color. And I had a beautiful yellowy gold green on my previous room. It was called Hair Ribbon, and I loved that color, so I'm going to get that swatch out again as well. I'm back from the store. I looked at Hair Ribbon, and it wasn't at all as I remember it. It was solid gold, and I want a greeny gold. So, but now I've got 4 other potentials, and I haven't written the names of the colors on. Usually I do so that I can remember them, you know, easy reference, but I actually don't want the names to influence my choice. Yeah, I think they all look good. I really like the bright one, but I still like this one a lot. And these are the other way around now, so I still like it even though the orientation has changed. That's a good sign. It does usually take me a long time to choose a color, and I often change my mind. Those look good. So I think I'm going to give that 24 hours. I'm going to get back to wallpapering now and continue to think about it. I like how the yellows pick up the breasts of the birdies. the original color in here was a bright 50s turquoise, so hence why I wanted to honor the original color scheme by going with a more modern turquoise. Saved a piece of the original wall. That's the color it was in here, really bright. So, you know, you can see how it's much brighter and richer than those colors. But I think that's a nice sort of nod to the 50s past of this house. So how I do it is I line up the piece with the edge on the wall, like that edge. I lined it up, and then I make a mark either with the fingernail and make a crease, or a pencil if my pencil is within reach. And I use my carpenter's angle to draw a straight line across it with pencil, and I cut it with scissors. And that is this line. And that way you always have it right. Right, so next piece is gonna go over the corner, and I have a corner bead in the corner. I've decided to go right over it and just crease, well, not with a nail, but with the smoother into both sides. That should work. Haven't done that before, but it should be fine. And I'm just starting on my second roll now. Just did the corner, and I think it turned out well. I got this edge perfectly lined up, and I pre-cut the top so it wouldn't be a problem, because usually going around a corner, if you've got 1.5 inches sticking out at the top, makes it harder. But I pre-measured and cut it, and because of the system here, I am actually wallpapering onto wallboard. It's not drywall. It's this flimsy stuff that moves. I don't think you can see that, but so I also pressed into the corner, and it came up nice and crisp. Very happy with that. And I only had 2 little wrinkles. Well, it's a fairly sizable wrinkle here and a bigger one here. But I am totally fine with that because it's normal to have wrinkles in a corner of an old house anyway. And you can totally see it's crooked as a dog's hind leg. But that's because the corners of old houses aren't square. So the next drop is going to go straight up and cut off about 1/4 inch of the overlap there. Yeah, so happy with that. Look at that, I've got so much now. It's looking good. The next drop turned out to overlap by over 1 inch at the top, but it looks fine because it's branches. If it were a geometric pattern, that would really show a lot. I decided to start by drawing a perfectly upright line with the level. So they are 21 inches across, and I went straight up from there all the way up. And I basically followed that line up instead of this side, because I knew that side was out. So that turned out well. Yeah. And one more before the window. And yeah, so far it's been a treat just doing flat drops with nothing in the way. Those are the easiest kind. So, but it's mostly width, you know, it's only a skinny bit I got to kind of cut out, and then I only need to do a skinny bit above the window. So that should be fine, and nothing underneath. So this is how I do the window. I hold the piece up and I make a crease along the edge with my fingernail. I also crease at the top and cut it off. And then down here, so I followed the crease with my pencil and I've snipped it into the edge, quite, you know, measured, like up there, measured up there. And then I also made a crease here just for the first few inches. Then I measured it and it's 4 7/8. And I draw that line all the way down because I don't want to put glue on this part. So this is the part that's going to get folded. That part's already cut. That'll make it much easier when I put it up on the wall. Okay, so I'm having trouble cutting off the excess around the window. It's just ripping because it's wet and it's making a mess. And I've already put 2 little pieces back, like the top of the eye there. So I think what I should do is wait for it to dry and then cut it off. Like I tried with a ruler first, which is how I've always done it before. And this is the 6th room I have wallpapered ever, like 3 in my other house, 3 in this house. And then I tried cutting it just with the knife straight in the groove. It won't cut, and maybe the knife might need to be changed. I'm using a regular utility knife. It could be that the blade is dull, but it just bunches up and it's so, see that? So I'm gonna let it dry. I'm just smoothing it so it'll stick and then cut it. But the top came out okay. Like sometimes I miss, but look at that, spot on. And spot on at the top as well. So happy with that. And that's all I'm gonna do today. It is dusk now. This is how it's looking. Look at all those birdies. Woo-hoo-hoo, tweet, tweet. And then I'll work on what color to use. All right, new day. And last night I did pull most of it off by ripping paper against the knife. Against the ruler. So I put the ruler up on the wall and then I pulled in the opposite direction, you know, like you would do with wrapping paper. And that worked except for a couple of chunks along the middle. So I got most of it off. And then just now, also last night, I turned the blade around in my utility knife and found that I have a sharp end on the other end. And I used some SOS pads to get the rust off, make sure it was nice and clean. And those little snippets that were left cut off beautifully when dry. Then also today, or yesterday afternoon actually, I went to the store and I picked up the swatches. I picked up hair ribbon, but it wasn't green at all. It was yellow, like really gold. So it wasn't what I remembered, but I did get these other green swatches. And then today I went back and I got some pink and orange swatches. So now I've got 4 colors to choose from. Even more choice. Oh boy. I'm still leaning towards the blue and the green though. I don't really want salmon on my wall. And I think the orange popped too much. Looking at the floor, like I wanted cool in here, not warm, so I just wanted to be complete, you know, about my color choices, because there is pink and orange in the wallpaper print, and those are the flowers I used to match up the color. So I'll probably carry on today. Yeah. Last night I cut this little piece to go above the window. That's gonna go up there. It's just right, just the right size. I'm gonna do that right now and then see how I feel. All right, I am feeling good today, so I decided to keep going with my wallpapering because I had a good job interview today that I think went well, and I'm feeling confident and happy that I can expect to get that one, and I like the people and I like the place, and I'm thinking that's where I'm gonna be making my future for now. So I'm happy about that. So I feel good to go to keep doing the wallpaper. And I've put up the first drop today. There it is. So I did okay. The way I decided to do it was to draw a perfectly perpendicular line first to follow. And I am exactly on it. It's like right there. But because I lined this edge, well, I lined that one up, wherever it is, and then I lined this one up all the way down, and then I smoothed in this direction towards the window. I pre-snipped this bit, but I did end up with a 1mm gap. So, two choices there. I can either mix up some matching paint to cover it or put a tiny sliver of wallpaper in. I mean, I could reposition, but I don't want to because I got this edge so perfect. It isn't worth it. Also because I'm planning on staying. So I'm not wallpapering this for somebody else, you know. It's just for me, so I can handle a few errors. So because I don't think it's wet there, I'm gonna try cutting it right now and see if it works. That came off well. It sliced pretty well most of the way. A little bit gibbly here. And I should have had my reading glasses on. I should be able to smooth this out actually. So I was cutting downwards, so that's why I'm smoothing upwards. Actually, I'm going to go at that with my smoother. As you can see, I tore the corner a little bit, but I pulled it away from the wall and cut it with the scissors up to here. You can see how small that is. But I think it's smooth now. I had also sliced on the edge of my window frame there, so I have smoothed it over again with the fingernail, and it's pretty good. Like, that's highly magnified. Alright, that was a little bit of a jig. I can't even see that with the naked eye. Anyway, it's fine. Alright. Isn't that pretty? So I just have that much left, and then on this side I have painted fake wood paneling. And I had this stuff off, but I put it back on again because there is no other flat surface underneath there. It's tongue and board. This side is drywall. I put that up. And then on this side is, so that's tongue and groove with wall panel. This is drywall. And over here is just the wall panel. So I would like to keep going with wallpaper on this wall too. So I'm going to try filling in the dips with wall filler with drywall mud. I've got a bucket of drywall mud. I don't see why that wouldn't work. I'd originally thought leaving it like that, because I like the oldie worldy kind of wall panel look, and just I could leave it off-white. Maybe I'll just finish up to that corner first and then decide. And I've got another window here. Either leave that as paneling, or like I've got a whole nother roll, so there is enough to go around. We'll see. That's the next drop up. Just a few inches left before the corner. All the way around now. Woohoo! Looks good. So I have eliminated the pink and orange swatches and back down to blue and green, and have reduced those down to 2 of each. And I'm definitely leaning towards the bright green and the turquoise blue. Next day, and I am back to 4 of each swatch. I've decided to wait until the border trim arrives and see which of those goes best with. I've ordered 2 different trims. I'll wait and see which one goes best with whichever one I pick. Now I would like to paper this wall. But as you can see, this is also wall board all here. And it's very not flat here, and this moves. And I just broke this part here where there's a bit of tape. I did put a piece of 2x4 in here to support this part. This is good and solid here, but this is so not solid. So papering here is kind of iffy. And look at this, like, I have run over it with the putty knife and taken off any nicks. You want to do that because little tiny sharp bits underneath are a nightmare. I think it should have paper here, despite the challenges. Now I could redo this with drywall, but I don't want to. It's too much work. This looks terrible. You know, like, to do it properly, it should be done in drywall. Look how ripply that is. Oh no. A good example of how the wall moves. It's really flexible right here. It moves a bit here, but this part's okay, you know. It's no worse than this part. Well, okay, this part's pretty firm. Maybe I could just replace above the door. That would be a small piece. I already have a piece that would fit there. Right, so I got that board off. And as you can see, there's the 2x4 that I put in earlier. And this is the tongue and groove, which is not actually connected, but that's holding up the living room wall. That's the living room wall right there. Ooh. So yeah, it was tucked in behind here, so no wonder there was a ridge. And so how do I get drywall in there and make it be flush? Well, I'll figure that out. That's what I got right now. So I think what I'm gonna do, because watch it, Zephyrus. Because it's so thin, the space here, I don't have enough depth. This is right onto the 2x4 here. Not enough depth to make drywall fit unless I recess it and put some other piece of wood behind it. But I might as well have it all uniform and trim this piece, put it back where it was. Sorry, I'm like holding it both things. Okay, so line that up, trim this off, put that chunk behind there because you see there's a gap. There's a gap in there. Right between here. So I need to fill this space because if I push it down, it becomes curved. It needs to be held out. There's something behind here that's holding it back and won't Yeah, so I need to fill this space, and that is just the right thickness. And I'll get a bunch more 2x4s, put one here, like, you know, like almost fill the space with 2x4s. Just have small, like 1-inch gaps or something, so it'll be nice and solid. That should work. And I'll line it up with the ceiling. And there was a small gap under here, which is fine. I could also mention that there's a smell coming out of here. It's just old smell. It's not animals or rot or anything. It's just gross old smell. I don't like it. I want to get that closed up right now. Right. So I've cut that many. 6, and I think that's good. I didn't want to cut into my next 2x4. I want to keep it long. So got about 2 inches between. One butted up on the end here, and one butted up to the piece I stuck underneath, because I don't want to put it behind it because that'll continue the ridge problem. So that should work. All right, so that's in place. And I secured the end pieces with 2 screws each to hold them to the tongue and groove on the other side, because otherwise the whole piece would just fall out. And they are secured all the way around the edge by panel nails. So I'm ready to mud and tape that. And this gap is supposed to be here, and it is covered up by the border that goes around the door. I'm not sure why there's a gap there, but it's fine. And there it is, all taped and mudded. I didn't actually have any drywall tape left. I thought I did, but I'm out. So I used duct tape, the old Canadian do everything, and just buried it in there. It's the closest thing I have to drywall tape because it has fibers in it. Yeah, and it's just buried in there. So I'll have to sand it down after it's dry and put some primer on it. Then I can wallpaper. Next day, and that's sanded and painted, and I realized I was out of white primer, so I got the pale blue primer on there, and that's fine because it's going to be underneath wallpaper anyway. It also helps to show where I've put it for the camera. So there you go, easy peasy. I've now done the corner halfway across the door. Just did that little strip beside here, as far as there. Lined up at the bottom. And I've also put up new curtains. I was going to use red velvet, and I slept with them for one night, and I found them too strong in color. So I tried a few others that I happen to have, and I like the pink. I got these thrift, of course. All my curtains are thrift. And it's looking really good. There is pink in the pattern, so it picks it up. Look at that. Corner turned out pretty well. Once again, I used the level to draw a straight line. 21 inches across, straight up. I didn't cut any off the center, so it's just a nice, soft overlap there. That looks pretty good. Almost done, and I think I have decided just to use paint there, and I have picked paint. This one, the light turquoise color. It's called Stillwater, and just a small can. Hopefully that'll be enough. Yeah. That one looks good with the wallpaper. I decided against green just all of a sudden. That blue is what I want. Blue is what I started out wanting. It's a greeny blue. And if I don't like it, I can always paint over it. I still have the greens here on standby if I change my mind. There, like that. I just decided that no, the theme in the room is blue. I want it to be not two-tone, I just want it blue. So we'll go with that. I'll show you those again. The 3 final options. Yeah, blue. So I've finished around the door now. And I haven't painted the door yet. There's a hole there where there was a hook that ripped through. So I've got this weird piece of hardwood on top. So I have to decide what I'm going to do there. I did switch out the handle though. Now you're supposed to, or it's good if you can, take your trim off before wallpapering, but I decided not to. And this is an old and boring and flat trim. But, you know, it came with the house. I mean, it's okay. I could swap it out. And okay, so over here, I did cut a piece that is the pattern that should be there if there was no door. And however, it wasn't quite tall enough. So if you look really closely, you might see that I've got 2 little pieces in there. And that's because I goofed. I was cutting a little square 2 3/4 by 1 3/4 across. And I lined it up over here because it was a big piece, but I didn't line it up down here. And so I got it wrong by this much. But who's going to notice that, right? You really can't tell. So that just leaves that corner to finish. That's where I cut it out from. Okay, and that's all done now. So there it is. All the way around. Paint is next. And to buy a dresser for the mirror that I got. $5. Yeah.